When I talk to you folks, I'm preaching to the choir, but I hope that we'll talk loud enough that people in the State House can hear us too. Okay, this is serious business. We are talking about life and death. We're talking about human suffering. We're talking about collapses of whole systems that are designed to be a part of our compassion for each other. My name is Jim Baugh. I'm here today on behalf of my son, Gabe. Gabe's 38 years old. He's a loyal Bronco fan. He's a lover of jazz, blues, and rock and roll, and he's the friendliest person you are ever likely to meet. He also has a significant intellectual disability, and he's paralyzed from the neck down due to a spinal cord injury. Gabe needs the assistance of another person to perform any basic activity, such as eating, using the bathroom, or just changing positions. He also has 4 health conditions, too complicated to address here, but any one of them can become life-threatening in less than an hour. And that means that he needs constant monitoring and occasional trips to the emergency room. Gabe needs 24-hour assistance from people who've been trained on his needs, just to stay alive. By living with his mother and me, Gabe has private health insurance coverage which pays for all of his acute medical care and all of his prescriptions, saving Medicaid $250,000 to $500,000 a year, depending on whether it's a good year or a bad year. But we need Gabe's in-home Medicaid waiver services to make that possible. Any reduction in Gabe's supported living services sets him on a path to another imminent crisis and hospitalization at a long-term acute care hospital, which costs over $900 a day per person. Gabe may not be typical of people that receive waiver services, but he's not unique. There are other people whose needs are very similar to his. Many people are living in homes and communities today only because they have someone who helps them to eat, helps them use the bathroom, helps them to bathe, take medications, transfer from wheelchairs, and monitor serious health conditions. These services are about freedom and choice and reaching a full potential, but they're also about survival, about health and safety for thousands of Idahoans. Medicaid pays for these services to preserve the most fundamental right, the right to life. While protecting Gabe's right to life, Medicaid pays for the wages and the taxes of Gabe's caregivers. Even if you want to save Idaho money by taking his life-sustaining services away, you can't balance the budget by cutting Medicaid. Of course, the legislature faces tough decisions. The projected revenue, whether it's accurate or not, is far short of the cost of running the state government for 2012. Medicaid's a large part of that cost, and so it's a natural target for cuts. But like any enterprise, you can't always balance the budget by cutting the largest programs. A retailer can't recover by closing all of its most profitable stores. A family can't make ends meet by eliminating food from the budget or by not paying for gas for the car that takes them to work. Medicaid is the largest single source of federal revenue in the state of Idaho. It's our best chance of getting back into Idaho economy the hard-earned tax dollars that Idahoans have sent to Washington, D.C. For every $3 of state funds spent on Medicaid, we bring back to Idaho $7 of federal funds. If we cut $3 in Idaho's budget, we leave $7 in Washington. So where do those Medicaid dollars go? Well, Medicaid is extremely labor intensive. Almost all the money funds jobs for hardworking citizens. When they get paid, they buy food and shelter and clothing and other Idaho products, and they pay taxes. When the businesses they support pay wages for other people's jobs, and they pay taxes. So what's the effect of cutting $50 million in state funds for Medicaid? The effect is we suck $166 million out of Idaho's economy, and we kill about $208 million in total economic activity. We eliminate about 4,000 jobs, and based on economic studies in other states, all that adds up to losing $30 to $50 million in tax revenue, completely wiping out the savings. We cause untold suffering. We cause some deaths. We force people into poverty and unemployment. We shift Medicaid recipients onto state-funded programs like county indigent services and catastrophic health care funds. We shift people with severe mental illness into hospitals and court systems and jails, and we create a huge burden on local taxpayers. This added state tax burden is estimated to be about $16.7 million in the first year and much more after that. Does anybody still think that we can solve our budget problem by cutting Medicaid? Like any business or family in economic trouble, we need to cut out our waste, but we need to preserve and increase our ability to bring in income. You can't balance the budget by destroying jobs, by eliminating essential public health services, and by shifting costs to local government while you leave $116 million of our federal tax dollars in Washington, D.C. A little effort on the revenue side, whether it's tobacco, alcohol, or sales taxes, will prevent a lot of suffering, save lives, and it might actually balance the budget. Cutting $50 million out of Medicaid will do exactly the opposite.